everyone. Good morning. How are we?
Good.
Fantastic. It is, Wednesday? Am I correct? Awesome.
Yep.
And we're all here today. It's rainy last night. However, we're going to talk about real estate today. Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sounds good.
Sweet. So let's start with the question that everybody asks. How's the market? What's happening out there?
I'll go ahead and step in. I think the market right now is phenomenal if you're a buyer or a seller, just because you're kind of back to a balanced market. Things are still great if, even if you're getting a loan, whether you're getting cash, your interest rate is always going to be, interchangeable. I think
Sure.
that, you can always refinance later, find the perfect house now, and then kind of readjust in the future.
So I'm sorry to
go
interrupt,
ahead.
but what do you mean by balanced market? Because all I'm hearing is the market's in the toilet.
Yeah, no, so I think balance being, I think everybody was so caught up in the moment of, we got to get a house like ASAP just because the demand was super high, but the inventory was super low. So I think that balance being, sellers are now paying closing costs. They are,
That's
more
something we
eager.
haven't seen in a
Yeah,
while. Okay.
I think they're more eager to do repairs. Buyers can get under asking, but sellers can still kind of get, where they need to be to kind of clear, themselves.
Awesome.
So I think that's kind of where I'm getting at in terms of balanced market.
Okay. Is that what we're seeing out there as well?
I would agree.
Yeah.
100%.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's just turning more into a balanced space, right?
Yeah.
Months of inventory have gone up. However, homes are still selling for a good price,
Yeah,
right?
for
The
sure.
median sale price is still up.
Yeah.
Correct.
So it's really interesting, right? So
Yes.
ultimately, I mean, in this market, what might be the biggest concern for buyers?
Biggest concern for buyers. I don't know. I think maybe, I think a scare for buyers might just be the interest rates, and
Okay.
kind of like what I tell people too. The interest rates aren't, they're not terrible. Everybody was so caught up at 2% and 3%, but that wasn't sustainable.
Sure.
And so I think that might be the only scare for them, but maybe kind of just to kind of reel them back in of say, hey, you can get sellers pay closing costs, buy your rate down. So that might be a scare for them, but there's always a solution to it as well.
Right.
I think also that when people listen to the news, it's doom and gloom, when in actuality, especially here in this niche market, it's not that bad. It's actually pretty good. We are usually months behind what the national average is. And just last night, I had that very question. How's the market there? She's coming from California. So I said, it's great here.
Right.
I said, we're basically selling at 98% of the asking price.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really good here. So
And I think that goes back into that conversation of, a more balanced market, because just a few months ago that was sitting at 101.
Yeah.
However, there are some markets right now that are sitting at 92.
Yeah, for sure.
So 98 is still a relatively good market for sellers.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's awesome. Sweet. So with the buyer being a little bit concerned about rates, what are the conversations that they need to be hearing from us?
So I think maybe conversations I've just had with them is kind of just going back to the whole, if you really love the house, if you're going to keep waiting on the rates to come down, you're never going to buy a house.
True.
And so that's just kind of a conversation I've had with them. If you find a house you absolutely love, you can afford it, it's a good time to buy for you, then pull the trigger.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned earlier, you can always refinance. Always have people contribute to closing costs. That way you don't have so much to bring to the table.
So what do you mean by that for people who might not understand? How can we get the seller to contribute money to the buyer's closing costs?
Yeah, so in situations in the past, what I've had them do is just say they're going to offer, they originally were going to offer $300,000, but they would love, $10,000, contributed to closing costs. Sometimes I'd say, well, let's offer $310,000. That way the seller's still getting, the original what they were originally going to offer, which is $300,000, but you're still getting $10,000 towards your closing costs.
Got it.
Whether you can use it towards buying down your rate, you can just use it, for attorney's fee, what have you. That way that buyer isn't coming to the table with so much cash.
Makes sense. And in a scare market with rates, right, like we were discussing, that might be the option like you mentioned. Hey, it might not even be the cash to close. It could be to buy that rate down.
For sure.
Right? So they're not sitting at 6%. That they could get into the 4s
Yeah.
possibly. Awesome.
yeah, we actually purchased a house, and what we did, we went with an ARM. And then after a couple of years, when the rates came down, we basically refinanced to a fixed. So that's an option there.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, have the conversations with your lending professionals on the best financial opportunity for you. And if it makes sense and it's available to you, why not?
Yeah.
And those things are always out there, right? So in today's market where buyers actually have negotiation power again, why not get creative and
Yeah.
have those conversations?
Right.
So let's flip the script. What do sellers need to be doing today to win in today's market? What do they need to be preparing for?
Oh, sorry, buddy. Sorry. I think, like I've had the conversations with my sellers too, just really having their expectations kind of not too high, like being very transparent and being very, familiar with this market that we're in right now.
Sure.
Things have shifted. Sellers aren't seeing, they're getting 10 offers, on a house. I know back in February we were up against, like 18 other offers.
Right.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
And so I think that sellers are right now are so used to what it was like 6 to 8 months ago, and they're still thinking that that's kind of a thing. And so conversations I've had with them is, it's still a great time to sell. But like going back to the balanced market, you're not going to get, 10 and 12 offers. You really need to make sure that you're pricing your house accordingly, so it doesn't sit. And so that's just kind of conversations I've had with them.
Yeah.
And how to win, just
Yeah.
kind of really making sure that you're really pulling accurate comps to make sure that, it's priced right.
So it's interesting, in today's market when we're in such a competition again, right? Because we might only get one offer, not 15.
Yeah.
What are those conversations about pricing, since you mentioned comps, that we might be having with sellers now that we weren't having maybe a couple months ago?
Yeah, and I think too, you probably could have just, I don't know, I don't want to say like you didn't have to pull comps, but a lot of sellers were like, well, let's put this number out there and see if it works, and it worked. Like you really have to be very diligent in looking at comps now. Not every single house is going to be a good comp for you just because the
Right.
price in your mind makes sense.
True.
And maybe I think too, just kind of going back of, making sure that sellers are doing the, correct things to, really get their house ready, whether it be pressure washing, whether it be, cleaning the gutters out, just things that are really going to make sure that their house, is the best showing potential that it can be.
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah.
Who are the sellers in competition with right now?
Other sellers.
Other sellers that, and themselves,
Yeah.
right? And pricing it correctly and taking that professional advice. They're in competition with the other sellers that are active on the market.
Mm-hmm.
I think so too, because they hear their neighbor's house sold 6 months ago for X, and they're thinking, I should be able to get X or even
Yeah.
more. So that mindset and showing them the actual numbers, what makes sense to actually sell and list their house for.
Makes sense. Yeah. So does anybody use the pricing strategy right now of, hey, let's compare your home to other homes that are on the market currently?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Heather's been a really good, our lead listing agent. Just kind of as I shadow her and kind of learn a little bit more about the listing side, always saying, pull sold comps and also pull the ones active, because people, if their budget's 300,000, they're going to look at everything within the 300,000 range.
Right.
And so that's who you're up against.
Right.
So just really making sure that, that price is going to stand out and it's not just going to, sit there.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Wendy, if you were to sell your house today, what's one thing that you would do to make sure that your home stands out above anything else out there?
I think curb appeal is really important since
Okay.
the market is starting to change a little bit. Like Jocelyn was just saying, clean the gutters out, make sure that you pressure wash, make sure that the paint's not flaking off the handrails,
Right.
the porches. Those little details are going to make your house stand out from the others that maybe have already been on the market for 3 months.
Yeah.
Right.
And they didn't have that done.
Yeah. That's incredible stuff that we're talking about today. However, we've talked about this for years. It's just like we mentioned a few months ago, we were getting multiple offers on homes every single time. And now that the homes that were on the market might have missed that market are sitting, well, how do you position yourself going on market today to beat those homes? Right. And I think that curb appeal makes a lot of sense.
I think too, I know a lot of people in the past, like before the market was crazy, I'd heard of people, doing inspections before they listed, go ahead and figuring out like what is a home inspector going to see wrong with my house that I may not know is an issue.
Right.
To go ahead and address that so that, hey, we had it inspected, we fixed these problems, here is the proof that we've done it. just to kind of make buyers feel a little bit more comfortable.
Absolutely. Yeah. Sweet. Love that.
Yeah, the other thing is clutter. Get rid of the clutter.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if your
Yeah.
I think
if your
that's
house
super
don't
important.
look presentable, if it looks all cluttered, to me that's
It feels
especially
smaller, I
in pictures.
think.
Yes,
It
it does.
can be difficult for a buyer to overlook that, you know.
Yeah.
If,
And kinda
if
see
they
the big
walk in
picture.
and the counters are cluttered and there's just stuff everywhere, it's difficult for them to envision putting their stuff in there. truthfully.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that comes back to the whole conversation up front with them and possibly even staging opportunities, even a consultation, right? You know, getting the seller in the mindset of, hey, doing what it takes to get the most amount of money, because the most
Yeah.
amount of money is out there. It's possible, right? I mean, it's out there in today's market. It's just how are you going to position yourself against the other homes currently on the market? How are you going to be that choice?
How are you going to make your house stand out
Yep.
compared to the others?
Absolutely. So in this weird market, the market that we're sitting in, you know, it's a little bit back towards the balance side. I think we're still teetering on a seller market.
Yeah.
Who ultimately wins here, and what does that look like?
I think with a balanced market, it's a win-win for both sides. I think the seller can get close to what he's asking for, to where he has enough equity so that he's going to make money off selling his house, and then the buyer is going to get hopefully what they want in a house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think ultimately it's always, you know, if you're in the position to buy or sell, I mean, really, I mean, both parties, regardless of, you know, whatever market it is, you're going to win regardless. You know,
Yeah.
both parties are going to win. The buyer's going to find the house that they absolutely love, and the seller's going to be able to move on to the next
Yeah.
chapter of their lives. So I think that's just kind of a big takeover of the entire real estate market as a whole, no matter what the market is.
Yeah, I think it's important to know, and you know, you mentioned win-win. I'm sure if we kept going, you would, and I would. That's, you know, one of our big culture values here, and you know, we're always looking for that win-win. And it's never the wrong time to buy the right house,
Nope.
and it's never the right or never the wrong time to sell in the right condition. So I think it's a win-win on both sides. And this market, getting back to a balanced space, allows you to do that.
Yep.
You know, if you're a seller, you're still getting great amount of money for your home, and on the buy side, you have opportunity for negotiation.
Yeah.
Right.
It's best of both worlds. I love that.
That's something that's been missing the last 18 months. Negotiating.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah, there hasn't been any
Right.
negotiating.
Right.
getting
As
creative.
long as you're a warm body.
So,
Yeah.
No, it's great. It's a great feeling, you know, being out there, being in that, you know, that type of market. It's a skills market, right? And it's something that I think everybody kind of can enjoy a little bit more. I mean, obviously sellers like getting whatever they want for their home. However, at the same time, they're buying in that market too.
Yeah.
So, you know, is it really a win-win or is it a lose-lose in that scenario?
Yeah.
So I think we're back to that win-win scenario, and I like that a lot. So, my last question for you guys is, what do you guys love most about the market that we're sitting in? I know we just talked about the win-win negotiation. That may be it. However, is there something else about the market we currently sit in that you enjoy?
I think getting to spend time with clients more. You know, a lot of my clients within the past year, I mean, some of these people I still to this day have yet to meet, just because, you know, we did everything via FaceTime,
Yeah.
you know, texting. They didn't come to closing because they were mailaways, and,
Sure.
you know, we still haven't met. And I think really just spending, you know, that quality time with your buyers or sellers, because you are having to show more houses. You know, you are, you know, having to go do a little bit more for your sellers.
Right.
So I think just spending that quality time with them, and, you know, them actually feeling like a relationship and not just another transaction.
Yeah, relationship building.
Yeah.
Cool. Love it. Wendy?
I would agree. Just continuing to build on that relationship. There was a lot of running and doing without actually spending time with buyers
Yeah.
for me over the last 18 months or so. And now I feel like there's a little bit more time in person.
Awesome.
So
Yeah.
it's nice to actually build that relationship and feel like you know who it is that you're working
Yeah.
with.
Right. It's easier to win for somebody and with somebody when you know who they are.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
right.
Yeah. Ivan?
relationship. Everything that I've ever done is built on relationships.
Yeah.
And real estate's no different. It's building that relationship so that when you do see them, you're more friends with them
Yeah.
than just, oh, hey, I sold you that house. Oh, hey, you know.
Yeah, the drive-by, right? Like the dad who's like, oh, I worked on that place, or I
Yeah.
worked on that place.
Right.
Yeah, and I would have to agree. I'd say, relationships as well. I've always kind of sat with the thought that we walk into deals as their translationships. They hire us to do a job. And until we accomplish that job, we don't earn the right to be in relationship with them because we didn't do the job that they hired us to do. So I think, the market, again, being in a win-win, more balanced scenario, gives us that opportunity to win for them, build that relationship, and ultimately create that friendship afterwards. So I love that as well. Any closing thoughts?
I enjoyed this. Can't wait till we do it again.
Sweet, me too. This is yeah, it's awesome. So sweet. Well, thank you guys for being here. I appreciate your time. Jocelyn, Wendy, Ivan, my name's Devin, the Mountain Life team, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
See ya.